And actually, at the Democratic debates, Mike Bloomberg mentioned that the president has cut the CDC substantially. Some of the other people up on the stage agreed. What is the situation?
Yeah, it's totally inaccurate. It's based on a news article that was wrong and that we would like corrected from the New York Post that is based on not understanding different accounts within the CDC. We, in our latest budget, have $4.3 billion, an increase of 3% for CDC's fight against infectious disease and emergency preparedness.
Russ Vought, so excellent to have you back on American Thought Leaders.
Good to be on.
And the fist pump, of course, we're doing kind of best practices around coronavirus, even though I don't think it's here yet, but it is coming. So Russ, coronavirus is the talk of the day right now. There was this big press conference by the president recently. And actually at the Democratic debates, Mike Bloomberg mentioned that the president has cut the CDC substantially. Some of the other people up on the stage agreed. What is the situation?
Yeah, it's totally inaccurate. It's based on a news article that was wrong and that we would like corrected from the New York Post that is based on not understanding different accounts within the CDC. So for instance, when there was the Ebola supplemental, there was $597 million provided for global health activities. That was 5 years worth of spending, $119 million per year. And towards the last 2 years of that 5 years, we began to make sure that it was going to be a permanent source of funding, and so we built in $50 million per year in addition. And then we provided $125 million in fiscal year 20, and in this latest budget we provided $175 million for it. So again, we're over the average for that 5-year allotment of money. That budget, that news article also had some leaked reports of contingency planning by CDC as if it were going to expire. But the funding was provided, so it's really basically an inaccurate story.
But you're actually saying it's going in the other direction.
It's going in
right?
the other direction,
Right.
And just another clarification. We, in our latest budget, have $4.3 billion, an increase of 3% for CDC's fight against infectious disease and emergency preparedness.
Okay. So actually, the last time we spoke, I asked you about, the coronavirus budget allocation. It seems that has actually changed with the recent announcement from the president. Can you speak to that and how that money is going to work?
Sure, 2 different fiscal years. So the budget request that we sent up was for the current fiscal year that we are in, fiscal year 20, and we have requested $2.5 billion. Much of that is new money to be able to spend on things like vaccine development, therapeutic development, reimbursing state and local emergency preparedness, the kinds of things that CDC has been spending their resources on for the last month. So we are hard at work right now. I expect to get an update on our negotiations with the Hill right after you and I talk. But we are making a lot of progress on this front, and we think we'll have a bill that the president can sign next week.
Okay, so very good to hear that you're moving quickly on this. We've been doing a lot of reporting around this, and the situation does look pretty serious. So
it is a serious situation. We've got our best public health professionals on the case, and the Vice President, Secretary Azar are doing a great job of providing leadership throughout this at every step of the way.
So let's talk about your budget. This is just recently proposed. Let's just say not everybody at this venue at CPAC right now really believes that this budget is going to deal with the deficit in a meaningful way. And I'd like to give you a chance to speak to that from your perspective, because I know that's actually important to you.
Sure. Well, I would just answer it in 2 respects. Number one, we need Congress to enact it, and the Congress has ignored 3 budgets that the president's put forward. This has $4.6 trillion in deficit reduction, the most of any president in history. So if the concern is that Congress won't consider it, we're concerned about it as well. We have to put forward a statutory plan for the fiscal health of the country. We're doing that, but we also recognize that we're probably going to need to have a national election in between before Washington, D.C. realizes there's a problem and decides whether they're going to side with the American people, as this president has, in balancing their books. So I get the great concern that folks have on spending and deficits. I know that is a major concern for the president as well, and it's something that he has been attempting to accomplish since he first came into office. And we're going to continue to put forward proposals that get at this issue, and hope that the American people encourage their officials to come alongside and help us get something done here in Washington, D.C.
So, if someone were to come up to you here and just say, Russ, the federal spending way out of control. I just don't believe this. What would you say?
We agree. We're putting forward spending proposals to reduce spending, to limit it in other places where it will continue to grow. But $4.6 trillion in deficit reduction, would that not be a good thing for the country? That's what the president has proposed. We need Congress to actually approve it.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that a lot of folks would like to see a lot more than that. Yeah.
I totally understand that. We got trillion-dollar deficits. We would love for people to come along and say, hey, these are new ideas that would allow us, instead of balancing in 15, to balance in 10. We're happy to have that conversation. But we got to start somewhere. And to be honest with you, the only person that's talking about balancing the budget is the president.
Okay. Well, so let's talk on the other side of things, which is deregulation, which is something that you've been very deeply involved in. Again, something I know is very, very important to you. Where are things at right now? And actually, I think that also contributes to this whole picture of the deficit.
We're making a ton of progress on the president's deregulatory agenda. He asked us to do 2 deregulatory initiatives for every 1 regulatory initiative. We have done upwards of 8 deregulatory initiatives for every 1 regulatory. $50 billion in 3 years of direct savings to the parties involved by that particular regulation, but $200 billion in economic savings to the economy as a result of all the main regulations that we have in the pipeline. And just to make a comparison, President Obama had $245 billion in costs to the economy his first 3 years. So you see the comparison there. We've got a number of proposals that we are focused on this year. One of them I just talked about for the CPAC conference of reforms to the National Environmental Policy Act. This is the major procedural regulation for pipelines, infrastructure, anything that where you're building in the national economy that has taken years and years, but not even get a decision about whether it's economic or environmentally justified. This president's saying we're going to put you on a 2-year shot clock. You may get denied, but you're going to have a certainty and decision within that 2 years. So we're making a lot of progress all over the place to be able to improve the lives of the American people, lower their costs. We think it'll add about $3,100 in savings to the American family. So that's, think about that. That's potentially 3 mortgage payments in middle America. That's the entirety of your gas bill for the whole year. So real results for families and businesses across the country.
So in some of these, micro results, are we seeing anything like that? We know at the macro level there's a lot going on like you discussed, but at the micro level, are there any, statistics that come to mind that you can point to where you have seen some effect?
Sure, I'll just talk to health reimbursement accounts and the short-term limited duration plans. These are concrete deregulatory initiatives in the healthcare space that are leading to, we believe, 11 million, and we're seeing trends, 11 million people getting health care who didn't have it prior. So concrete, tangible, but we also see it in the degree to which the administrative state is no longer bullying the American people. So, we're trying to provide the administrative state with rules of the road so that they can no longer go into Andy Johnson's Wyoming property, who just built 4 livestock ponds for his kids, and getting them to the point where they're going to put a $20 million fine on him until he changes his behavior. That kind of thing is just not happening anymore, and that's in terms of the themes of this conference. That's socialism that we're not seeing anymore because of this president.
Russ Vought, such a pleasure to have you.
All right, good to see you.